Hi guys, welcome to the latest series by Kieran Shalloo Designs, which is going to be a Boba Fett illustration. So you can see here, I have some rough pencils. It's all done on Manga Studio this time. So I'm just turning the pencils down here, picking my ink brush. So I went with a brush set by Frendon this time, and I'm just going to be testing the opacity and the pressure sensitivity. So I'm just editing my workspace a bit here, making sure everything's working fine. Kind of playing around. Do I want to adjust full screen? Uh, right, let's start drawing a bit. I was trying to decide which brush I wanted to use here. Uh, when drawing by hand, I do tend to use quite a lot of fine liners, so I was trying to get something along the lines of that. But I don't know, I was having an issue with the pressure on my uh, graphics tablet. I wanted to. I'm a fan of fine lines, so sometimes I do end up adjusting pressure and sensitivity and all those things until I'm happy. So I think you'll see me start to add the inks onto a new layer here. Uh, I do tend to stick with outlines first for a while, um, but then I do tend to get bored and like to add detail maybe a bit sooner than I should. But hey, that's worked for me in the past. You'll notice that the oh, the pencil drawing was quite rough, so I may just completely change it as I go along. Obviously, that's just how I work. It's a bit different each time. So, yeah, I do tend to jump around on a figure as well until it starts looking right how I want the image to look. So you see me jumping from the backpack directly onto now the helmet. Just trying to lay some foundation lines, trying to make them nice and thick to draw the eye into where I want it. I'm guessing that may have been a rest break. This video is not like the audio for this video isn't actually live. Uh, we have a new baby and she cries quite a lot, so I have to sneak at night. I had to do a little voiceover. Um, I wanted to make sure that I had strong lines for the inside of Boba Fett's helmet and the antenna, antenna, no, the locator thing that flips down. Um, so I wanted, so you'll see me jump around the two shots and rotating the canvas, which I tend to do quite a lot. I'm not sure how much of it will be caught on film, as this is the initial phase of inking. Well, I'll say inking, where basically it's just trying to add more depth to an illustration, really. When I illustrate, I don't tend to use field tools or anything like that. I always like to go in by hand, even, big sections of black like this. I feel that it's just a bit nicer by hand. When you use the fill tool, you end up having to fix up the corners anyway, so what's the point, really? That's just my philosophy, obviously. Do whatever you need to. So you can see how much I do tend to jump around. I have a vision in mind, and I'm trying to get out as quick as possible, really. Um, so I do just tend to jump around everywhere on a page, get things looking kind of close to what I want, and then jump somewhere else, and when it all comes together at the end, it's all good enough. Is the word. So sticking on the backpack of Boba Fett at the minute. Um, but also in the bottom right hand corner, I do tend to have a fully zoomed out version, a little window of the illustration. Usually that is on a separate monitor, but I thought I would include it. It will probably jump around as I go into the layer panels and things like that, but I will try to keep it for the whole series. Hopefully that you can see. I know there is one at the top, but I don't know, my layers go everywhere, so I do try to keep it in the same place. You see, as I said, I've gone in with the blacks again here. Just trying to make a solid focal point. These brushes, yeah, they came from Friendon, who I found via Twitter, and I think all of my posters since I used Manga Studio slash Clip Studio Paint have all been done with, yeah, solely and completely his brushes. So good, so good. So definitely try to find them. They were really cheap as well. Something like £6, um, £7 maybe, and yeah, they've definitely earned a lot more than they cost, really. So yeah, I can tell watching back that obviously the visor will need a lot more work, but this is just the first part of this video. As long as I can do it, I will try to record every instance of illustration on this poster. There may be times when that's obviously not possible, so there may be jumps, but I'm hoping I can get it all together in one giant video at the end, even if there's not a voiceover, because who wants to sit here watching every instance? Most people I know prefer like a speed painting, speed illustration, especially when this isn't really a tutorial. This is more just of a live stream, for lack of a better word. So I am trying to define some lines here, trying to reaffirm my light source, which will be in the top right hand side. So obviously anything on the left will be, or left as we're looking at it, will be darker, stronger shadows. I tend to try to use quite a lot of shadows, and if you've seen some of my other work, lots of black ink usually goes down on a page, either traditional illustration or digital like this is. Um, I do tend to use quite a lot, sorry, of strong, bold blacks. So again, here jumping from one part to another, I really enjoy drawing fabrics. Fabric and hair are the two things that I enjoy drawing the most. My Game of Thrones poster, which you can find on my website, uh, is probably the prime example of uh, how much fun I have drawing hair. Also, I've done a Sons of Anarchy poster of the main character Jax, and again, the hair in that was just a pleasure to draw. So have a look on my website, which is www.kieranshalloo.com, and you'll be able to see those. So just trying to uh, get the general feel of the fabric, uh, how I want to simulate it being bunched up. Again, deep shadows. This is just the base layer, so I do tend to do the same thing with one or two layers of color over the top of the blacks. Give it some depth. I'm still not sure if I want to create this poster with a uh, Boba Fett's traditional color scheme, or if I want to kind of use some pastel colors, maybe could look a bit different, maybe some earthy colors. You know, the same paint job on his outfit, but tonal tonal variations could look a bit different. I mean, Boba Fett's probably one of the most featured Star Wars characters, so you have to do something a bit different. I do have some reference images on my second monitor at this point because although I know roughly Boba Fett's outfit, there are things that was quite a lot of guesswork, so I didn't want that. So I am flicking back and forth between the two screens. I think this is when I pause like this, I'm usually checking a reference or trying to search for a reference. I think looking back, I think that shoulder pad's way too big and looks quite out of proportion. Maybe that'll be the first thing I try to fix on the next video. I'm hoping to get the next video done tomorrow, which would be Tuesday night. I'm tempted to live stream, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. I mean, it's quite a nerve-wracking thing to do is to draw live in front of people. I don't like doing it in my day job. Uh, I guess YouTube slash Facebook are different. So yeah, just jumped back onto the top of the head now. Trying to pull out some more solid definition lines. If I remember correctly, that's the neck there. Yeah, there we go. Again, jumping around. What can I define at this point? Yeah, trying not to keep the lines too straight and simple. I do kind of taper the end of my lines, as you can see around the beginning of Boba Fett's forearm. They're not just straight, simple lines. They kind of have this organic shape to the shadows. So I think at this point I was uh, starting to come to the end of the amount of time I could put into this. The pencil sketch, obviously, before the filming started. So I didn't want to jump too much. He says, as I obviously did, because I've gone to work on a different area now. This is the exhaust, exhaust, the rocket part of uh, Boba Fett's backpack, which obviously I decided to do on the first pass of the illustration for some reason. I think because I'm not really that keen on using too many rulers or straight lines. Maybe I try to get out of the way as quick as possible. I mean, looking at this, you can see areas that I will go back and work in again. But this is, as I said, just the initial page. Even going in with an eraser, which I don't usually do till right at the end. I guess I do like to see an illustration come to life and come together a bit, even right at the beginning, because what's the point in just having one area completed? I like to jump around and try to define everything in one go. So here, yeah, working on his jetpack, trying to give that some solid definition. Although looking at it now with my light source coming from the top right, maybe this will be completely in shadow. Maybe I'll just define the lines. And I've worked out what I want to do with the background. I was thinking, uh, I'm not sure if you can see the pencil. They might be too faint, but the background was going to be Cloud City from uh, the second film, but I may I may do something with the Sarlacc pit. that could be quite interesting. Um, although maybe, and I have worked out what I want to do for the background. There was the initial sketch had some Cloud City background, but I'm thinking I may go for more of a Silent Pit. And I think we're coming to the end of the illustration, so I will continue work on this uh, when I get a chance to, and hopefully I'll upload them all together. So each day will be a new part of this illustration.